Hey, how are you? It's Mary Bicknell. Welcome to Lead a Life Uncommon, where every Monday you're going to get a little biz bite to start your week off right. And then every Wednesday, we're going to deep dive into all things personal growth, where my goal is to help you have an aha every single week. You know, this podcast is for you, for the woman who's the go-getter, who knows there's more inside. And you know what? You're ready to smash through that self-imposed glass ceiling so you can finally see what you're made of. Ready? Let's go. Oh my God, I'm super excited today. I have a special guest with us, so you better get out your notebook. But actually what you need to do is you need to open up Amazon in a minute and buy her brand new book, Market Your Genius. Welcome, Nikki Nash.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me.
We're super excited. So today, you know, we have Biz Bites Monday where we have 10 minutes of action packed. So we're going to share, she's going to crank it out for you. 10 minutes of real serious, get to the juice information you need to market your business and all things business. But then stick around because we're going to just chat as long as we feel like chatting and sharing some of the behind the scenes, the real deal. Nikki and I met each other a while back. She's been in business for a long time outside of the online space, FYI. So for those of you who are like, oh, is this going to be new information? Yeah, it's going to be new. It's going to be new because she is a marketing expert, because she's just not like marketing yourself online. It's bigger and deeper than that. So can you just give us a 1-minute line of just rattle through, like we call this a beneficial brag, rattle through some of the places that you've worked before so people can hear your authority?
Yeah. I started at InStyle magazine and Travel and Leisure magazine on the business side, and then moved into advertising where I ran $2 million plus campaigns for Kraft Foods, was my account, and worked on a ton of their brands back when they owned a lot of ones that they no longer own. But I'm talking like Oscar Mayer and, Back to Nature and all that stuff. And then I went back to school, got my MBA, did a brand management internship at Coca-Cola. Don't drink soda. Was don't know if this is aligned with how I want to make the world a better place. So they're a great company. I'm just I don't drink soda. So I took a marketing job at Intel where I was in charge of online. That's when I moved into online marketing. Before that, it was all kind of like P&L and other types of traditional marketing type of work. And I did that for a number of years. And then I left to head up a tech startup marketing department. So I was head of marketing at a tech startup. And my side hustle at that time was teaching digital marketing classes to entrepreneurs, which I had no idea was going to turn into a business. I just did it because I kind of thought it was fun. And lo and behold, that turned into me quitting all of my jobs and building a business where I work primarily with women, helping them turn their experiences, their expertise, their skills into a profitable business, helping them get more leads, get more dream clients, have repeat clients and customers, and really put some of the fundamentals in place so that they can build, grow, and ultimately scale a business if that's something they want to do beyond what they have.
Yeah, great. Thank you for sharing that. And I think that's so important because I know you and I both have seen over the last year or two or so that there's just been this influx of people I can help you build a business. I can help you market your business online. And it's a bunch of BS. And it's just a regurgitation of the same stuff that they've just paid somebody $20,000 to do. So this is why I think your book is so brilliant. And I think that you're really bringing true marketing expertise that we can use. And because I believe so strongly that the truth of the matter is business basics are business basics. It's not all the flashy and shiny and everything. So with that, and we're going to talk a little bit more also how you are leading your, a life uncommon. I mean, I love the beginning part of your intro into your book as well. So that's a side note. We want to always talk about that. So let's just jump right in. One of the things that stood out to me the most was something that is I believe atypical in the new entrepreneur, the growing entrepreneur, or anyone, frankly, who is adding a service, a product, or an offer of any sort to their business or the workplace. And what happens is, I love your concept, this 4-step process that you talk about helping them be a mad scientist. So this is the Biz Bites I really want to focus on over the next 5-8 minutes-ish. and then we'll move on and stick around for the longer conversation. So tell us a little bit about, how did you decide on, well, first of all, I love this, the acronym, the MAAD, scientist, but why is that such an important piece of the puzzle to you for marketing your genius?
Yeah. Right now, especially in the online marketing space, so much of what I see from an advertising perspective, and I'm sure you guys are feeling and seeing the same thing, is that somebody will share that they have the exact way that you're going to make like bajillions of dollars in your business. And that way could be a number of things. It could be a marketing tactic like challenges or webinars or online courses or high ticket offers or tiny offers, or it could be, their operations system. But one of the things that's so important is that no business is exactly the same. So you can't do literally every single thing that somebody else does and see success and see the same exact results. Who you are is different. Your business structure is different. The timing could be different. Sometimes things work so well for folks because of the pure time of the year it was, or how long ago they did it.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I wish more people did is that instead of going, I'm going to do exactly what somebody told me to do, and then if it doesn't work as well as I wanted it to, throw it out, like the baby out with the bathwater, as the expression goes, like right. Throw it out the window and then start and follow somebody else's different tactic to make it big. And it's not so much that, what you're learning from somebody else doesn't work for you. It might work for you. It also might not. But the only way to know for sure if you have a marketing plan or a game plan or a tactic that's going to work for you is if you act like a mad scientist. And, I don't know what happened with entrepreneurship and where it kind of dissected from inventors, but inventors take a long time to invent something. It's not like they get it on their first try. And so I encourage entrepreneurs to be more like a scientist, more like an inventor, and follow what I call the mad scientist framework, which I can totally walk people through, but that's where it's
right now. And so a case in point, and address this too, if you will, I think that this is so, it also touches frankly on, some of the mindset piece, which is part of my area of genius, and how people are like, I should be further ahead. I literally had a conversation yesterday with a client and I'm like, you're just adding a new offer. Like 2 months in, it's not even can you speak to that as far as this process too, right? As far as, because I loved how you talked about how you have multiple launches, right? And then we test it. So go through your framework so that everybody can really hear. And while you're speaking, address that this process, can take time. And I'm a believer, are you in it to accomplish the goal, or are you just in it just to, try and make the flash in the pan money or whatever? What are your thoughts that? Run through that.
Yeah. So real talk, this, as you mentioned before, really helped change things for me from a mindset perspective, because instead of saying, I'm going to try this one thing that someone told me to do, and it's going to make me big money in 24 hours, I started going, okay, I'm going to focus on selling one thing for the next 12 months. And I'm going to try a way to sell that one thing. And I'm going to do it over and over and over again. And what it started doing was it gave me the freedom to fail, because if I knew that I was going to try to sell something for 12 months, right? And oftentimes it's longer, but let's just say even 12 months. And I was going to try maybe 6 times or 8 times or 12 times to sell this thing.
Yeah.
Then I would know, it didn't go well the first time, but it kind of feels impossible to me to not see success eventually. Right. And so the idea of the mad scientist framework is, and as Mary mentioned, MAD is a acronym. It's M, make a plan. So you literally map out what your marketing game plan is or how you're going to sell the thing. And then you have to activate the plan, because you can't just have a plan on a piece of paper, right? So you map it out, you activate it, and then you adjust it based on the results, because the reality is it's not going to go magically the first, second, third, or fourth time around. You have to keep tweaking it. And so you map out the plan, you activate the plan, you adjust the plan based on the results, and then you do it again, right? And so it's a cycle where you just however often you want to do it, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 4 weeks, weekly. I mean, that can be a lot depending on what you're offering. But you choose a period of time and you say, hey, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to see how it works. I'm going to evaluate how it works when I'm done. And then I'm going to adjust the game plan and do it again. And when you know that you're going to do something over and over and over again, it takes the pressure off from that first launch to be like the $1 billion launch, right? So but you'll learn from it.
I love that. So that's your bite for the week, but let's continue this conversation, right? So MAAD, right? Map it out, activate it, adjust it, and do it again and again and again. And I think that I love what you said, one offer and for a year. I want to say, from my experience working with dozens and hundreds of women over the last, 20 years, but definitely dozens over the last 8 years, it's just like that concept of doing something over and over again without massively changing, right? I call it tweaking, but right, with like not like throwing everything out, or the moment where they're just like, oh, it didn't work, and like you're going to give up. Like this framework really allows people to lean into and give that freedom to allow and recognize, for Christ's sake, you're going to have to you got it. Like you only learn through action. You only learn through adjustments. I mean, and then doing it repeatedly over and over so that it becomes more masterful. What do you think is the biggest reason why people like stop, or why do you think people just aren't willing to do something for a year, one offer for a year and make it work, right? Do those adjustments.
I think so many people, and I was there, so real talk, been there, done that. Expectations are often unrealistic. And I think it comes from, as much as I love social media as a tool to reach people, if you consume too much of what's online, your brain will start forming false beliefs about stuff and other people. And so it could seem like everybody and their mother is making millions of dollars off of doing one thing that they've done once, right? And if it feels that way, then you're like, oh my gosh, well, I need to do this one thing once and make millions of dollars. And if I don't, then therefore something's wrong with me, right? Like I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. My audience doesn't like me. I don't have enough people on my list. Like people start just like coming up with things in their head, and it's nothing wrong with it. That's the way the brain works. But if you don't take a step back and go, all right, listen, I didn't walk on my first try. I'm pretty sure you probably had some struggles learning to drive when you started, or you were scared. Right? Like, what have we ever done that we got perfect the first time we did it? And even if we got it perfect that first time, we're able to maintain that perfection over and over and over again, right? Like who, in what?
That's an excellent point. And I think that there's a couple pieces here. One is, keeping it going, right? And recognizing that you might do it for a year and then you have a great launch or a great sale or bring in the right clients, et cetera, et cetera. And then you still have to be a mad scientist. That's the whole, that's your business, people, right? It's like, I think so much of it is that then people can become stagnant and think, oh, I'm doing this type of thing. I'm doing this offer or this launch. And then they're not keeping their eye on a changing market, changing needs. Maybe they have evolved themselves and they've personally outgrown their offer. How are they handling that? Do they bring team in or what have you? And to that point, doing this tracking, right? Doing the adjusting and looking at, can you speak? Well, once I want you to speak to lifetime value of a client, right? Definitely that, know your numbers. If I speak to another woman who comes and she doesn't know her hardcore metrics, I just want to be like, God, don't you watch Shark Tank? They say, do you not? I don't know about you, but I'm a consumer of I don't watch it like I used to, but the profit or whatever. Business is about numbers. You're in business to be in a relationship with your numbers. And if you don't know your numbers, you don't have a business. I don't understand this as a concept where people don't get that. So lifetime value of a client. But to this point, I'm curious because you did mention Coca-Cola. So I was triggered with a thought. Flashing back, I don't know what year this is, so this is giving away my age, but when they came out with quote, the new Coke, it's they tested that. They tested it. I'm sure they came up with numerous marketing campaigns. You probably weren't in that, but right. They would have had to have come up with numerous ones. Even now, I think they're whatever. There's I don't drink Coke either or soda. So I don't know. There's different variations of it. But again, it's test. And maybe they threw it out like they did. So two things. One, how do you make the decision when to throw out the new formula, if you will? And then let's talk a little bit more about numbers. But first, let's address because I can hear somebody saying, well, I did it for a year and it still didn't, I did 3 launches and it didn't. Like, when do you know your idea sucks, nobody's buying it, versus you have to become more masterful of your marketing? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. And part of it is an art and science to this.
Yeah.
But, at the first thing I would always encourage people to get clear on is, what were your goals and intentions with it in the first place? Because to determine if something's successful, you have to set, whether it's a vision and a target and something that you're measuring the results against. Because, for example, and I share this in the book, there were times where I was like, oh, this thing isn't successful, and I threw it out, but I wasn't tracking anything or measuring anything. So how the heck, so many times I talk to people and they're like, oh, I'm not making any money, or my business isn't doing well. And I make them sit down and we look at stuff and I'm like, no, this thing is doing what it's supposed to do, but you're back at where you're sending people isn't working well, right? Like, the part you think is broken isn't the part that's broken.
Yes.
Right. And so you have to really look at, okay, what is my goal? What is this launch supposed to do? Or what is this part of my campaign supposed to do? And not everybody has to launch all the time, but it's like, what is my marketing activity supposed to accomplish? And then track and measure, is it doing that thing? And if you are, somebody who says, well, I've been doing this thing for a year and it's not working, well, then I have to have you sit back and go, okay, well, what was your intention with doing it? And are you reaching those results? Number one. Number two, can you honestly say that you've given it your all?
Because thank you. Hallelujah.
Yeah. So often people are like, I've been doing it, but I'm like, have you really? It's like, if you wanted to be an Olympian, your butt would be working out at a completely different level than somebody who's like, I go to the gym a couple of times a week, right? Like, that's not the same thing. Yes. So, if I say I've been working out for a year and I haven't lost any weight and I'm like eating cake for dinner every night. Okay. Well, yeah, I have been going to the gym, but I haven't been giving it my all to lose the weight if I'm eating cake every night. Right. So it's like, you have to be real honest with yourself. And I think that's hard sometimes for people, because you never, who wants to be like, yep, I totally half butted this, you know what I mean? Like, fill in the blanks there. Like, I didn't give this my all, but you have to be real with yourself, because when you look and you go, you know what, I haven't been working really hard to get the clients, or I haven't been working really hard to, get myself out there or be visible or make relationships and connections or whatever it is that you're trying to do, then you can go, okay, well, what's getting in the way of me giving it my all? And then you focus on addressing that. You don't focus on this isn't working. It's like, if it's not working, then look inward first before you throw it out the window.
Yes. I think that what everyone is hearing is the difference between success and failure. Because of course we're simpatico, right? Like, when we decide on something, we will make it work. And then we can make a different decision around, do we like the results, right? And then we can make those adjustments. I think that, the successful people, we have a different outlook on our goals. We have a different outlook on the process. We don't assign failure as a negative. We don't assign adjustment as a negative. When we decide on a goal, like, we're in it, because for me personally, it's like a challenge. Like, I love business as a puzzle. I love the challenge of it. And it's a growth thing too, because we've both had failures, right? We've had failed launches and blah, 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 and all the things and all the clients. And there gets to a point where there's that resiliency, right? Where it's just like, this is part of it. And like, I'm all in, right? It's like, then it becomes fun and enjoyable. And what is the new challenge? Because it will work and you will make it work. That is a completely different mindset and energy besides somebody who's like, I've tried, like, if I hear one, I've tried everything. And I'm like, really? Really, have you? Let's go down the list. And I don't know that everyone wants to try as hard as, or for the length of time, right? It is, you're right. Social is out there and it's like, tomorrow you can do, but that's not even how, like, I think there's a difference too between even online marketing and digital marketing, et cetera, than, like, I want to call it, quote, traditional business or traditional basics of business development. And I think that sometimes where there's a missing piece, and this is why I wanted you to do your beneficial brag in the beginning to share your history of work, is that, sometimes the online space looks different than quote, quote, a traditional or offline or predominantly offline business. But the bottom line is business is business. Every business needs to be a mad scientist. Every business needs to do that. Do you see this? Do you hear me? Like, are you feeling when I'm like,
I'm completely with you. And I think the biggest challenge that I see, or one of the things that gets in folks' way, is that you'll have somebody, and I totally get it, you're really good at something and you love doing it and you want to make money doing it. And sometimes people are like, all I want to do is this thing, and I don't want to focus on really fundamental business things. And so therefore, when somebody says like, oh, if you just follow these steps, you'll make millions overnight, it's an easy thing to go towards. But the reality is that digital marketing and online marketing wasn't built to be separate from marketing or business. It's like another tool in your toolkit.
Oh, that's good.
Like, so it's not different. It's just something you can leverage to reach more people in a different way. And so
I am chills. That was it. That was part of the meat, everybody. Grab the meat. Okay. Exactly. That was so perfectly said. That even helped me shift my own construct on that. Yes. So yes, that is really an extension of foundational business. It's not like this thing, right? This separate thing that there's no application to something that's traditional. Yes. And the other thing that you said, let's talk about that for a minute. Yes. How do you know, right? It's like, the whole build it and they will come, live your passion. I'm not saying don't live your passion. I'm not saying, obviously, and you're saying, right, market your genius. This is not about not creating and doing something you're excellent at, you're a genius at, that you love and all those. But I think what you're saying, it's that's not enough at the end of the day. It's not enough if you don't have the machine behind it, if you haven't done that 4-step process, if you haven't looked at, that's great that you are the best vegan chef or whatever, but there's things to do to share yourself with the world. And if you're not doing that, then your passion is just going to fall it's going to fall away anyhow. Right.
100%. And to go back to your question around how do you know, I think about marketing and online marketing, especially nowadays, reminds me of things that happen in the dieting space, right? There's so many different diets and people are like, ooh, this one's going to be the one. But at the end of the day, fundamentally, it's eat less, work out more. Not to oversimplify it, but it's exert more energy than you are consuming, right. And you should lose weight. And then, so if you do that and you're like, hey, I really did, and I tracked it and I knew that I ate less and I worked out more and I did it every day or most days, more often than not, for a year. But if I look at all my numbers over the year, I should have absolutely lost weight, and you didn't. Then you go, okay, well, I really did the work. Something's not working. Maybe I need to see a specialist or a doctor because something might be wrong, not literally wrong with you, but there might be a different factor. Maybe it's, hormonal, or I'm not at all in medicine, despite the fact that both of my parents are doctors. So if I say anything wrong, I'm sorry, but it could be something else. Right. And so the same thing with business. It's you have to go at it and go, okay, I'm going to do the fundamentals. And sometimes that means focusing on less, and it could feel really weird to say, oh, TikTok came out, I'm going to ignore TikTok because it's a distraction, versus adding to the thing that I'm doing. Right. And it might be right for somebody else, but for you, it might not be right. And if you can get laser focused and say, I'm going to do these things for the next 12 months, and I should see business success. And if I don't, then I'm going to bring on a specialist to help me evaluate, is it that I'm doing the wrong thing, or is there something kind of hinky going on here? And then you can make the decision to kind of keep going or stopping. Right. Because it could be, sometimes it's a little tweak. Sometimes it's oh yeah, you were doing all the things, but your body processes sugar in a different way and you were consuming too much sugar. And if you just cut out sugar, you'll see the results. Again, not a doctor making this stuff up, right. But metaphorically, the same could be true for your business, but nobody can truly help you with your business if you don't know what the heck is going on, if you have no data. That's why when you go to a doctor, they ask you a million questions about your history, because they can't just look at you and go, this is it. This is what you need to do.
Yes.
And so you need to find business people who will ask you the tough questions, who will get in there and figure out, really look at what's going on. Because if you don't track everything and know, then you can't really have them help you. It's like Jerry Maguire, like, help me help you, like help other people help you by
Right.
doing the work, keeping track of things, logging it, looking at your results and going, this is not working the way it should. What should we tweak and do it again? That's why I really believe in like a scorecard or something that you can look at on a regular basis and say, am I going in the right direction or have I completely gone off track?
Yes. So one of the things that I give clients is like when, before we do their like VIP day, it's a deep dive intensive. It's like they have weeks, frankly, of homework prior to them talking to me because I want to know everything. I want to know, what have you done? You've got to do some of my training, like all the things, and you better show up with your numbers because it's not just your current numbers. If you don't even know your numbers, well, first of all, you're kind of screwed, right? Then it's like, oh my God, then that's going to take time. But then part of knowing your numbers is being able to do some projection. And it's not always a perfect science around that because things change, et cetera, et cetera. But if you don't even know your basic numbers, what's your conversion rate? How many calls do you have to do? How many people are showing up? How many blah, 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 like all of the things. If you don't have the basics down consistently, and hopefully or that you can get that information, it's really hard to plan and project possibilities. And like one of the things you talk about in your book, which I was like, praise God, somebody's talking about it, about really what is a client worth to you ultimately? And the whole concept of, is it easier to resell a client, retain a client retention versus the energy into, finding, quote, a new client? Can you address that as far as, I know that you saw that as a missing piece, or you would not have put that in your brilliant book, right? That is also, that's the same, knowing your numbers, right? Why do you think that people, like in your business, when you're helping people navigate all of their numbers and helping them, and they don't know what a lifetime, what the value of a client is over the lifetime of the working together, what do you tell them about that? I mean, what is your sound advice on that?
Honestly, I typically approach this with a lot of compassion for people because I get it. And despite the fact that I have an MBA and I worked in marketing, I kid you not, I didn't even think about retaining clients until a client asked me how we can continue to work together really early in my business, luckily. And I was like, oh yeah, like what does this look like after this package is done? Good question. Right. I was like, great question. I don't want to use our session right now to discuss it because I really want you to get the value out of this. So why don't we book another call and that'll give me some time to figure out what the heck I'm supposed to say to you. But it happens all the time because there's all this marketing out there that's like, get more clients, get more leads, get new clients, get new leads. And it's like, what about retaining the ones you already have? And when I was working at a tech startup, it's one of the most important things that we looked at, especially when we were looking with investors and things like that, is how long we were retaining clients and customers for and how much it cost us to acquire a customer.
Yes.
So we call it customer acquisition cost, or CAC, CAC. And essentially what that is how much money did you spend to get in front of someone and take them from stranger to client? Yes. On average. So like you look at all the money you spent and how many clients, came in essentially, and then how much you spent to acquire a customer. And then we looked at like the highest level. I'm simplifying math here. And then you also have to look at, okay, well, how much did it cost me for a customer? And then how much do they spend with me over the lifetime of us working together? If you have clients that on average work with you for 2-3 years, even though your packages may be 90 days or 12 months, then okay, if I know on average a person will spend, I'm just going to make up the math for
make up easy numbers, right?
Easy numbers. But like somebody's going to spend $10,000 with me over the lifetime of us working together, and I spend $500 acquiring them. Well, hello, maybe I'll be willing to spend the $500. Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. As much money to acquire them. Where so often people are like, oh my goodness, I don't want to spend $100 or I don't want to spend money on acquiring customers. I just want them to come to me because it can feel like you're spending money, but it's like, no, you're not like just spending money willy-nilly. You have to look, is the money you're spending, are you making so much more on that over the lifetime of having a customer? Or sometimes people are willing to spend like what a person will pay for the first year of working with them, purely because they know they're going to keep them for 10 years.
Yes.
And so it's totally worth it if they just
Yeah.
break even with that one person in 1 year.
That's exactly right. And I think that two things that you said, yes, I have compassion too, right? Where women are like, because women, frankly, we're told, men are good at math and men are like all that BS, which that's another conversation about patriarchy and men in business, but all that. But, it's like at the end of the day, I want to support women recognizing like, if 1 + 1 is 2, then it's just a matter of learning what numbers to track and all of those kind of things. Because then once you start knowing how much does it cost for me to actually, have a new client? Oh my God, then that's when I believe the magic can happen, right? That's when you have more freedom to actually build wealth for your own company. Because you're moving out of the fear stage of like, I don't want to spend money. You're moving into the stage of like, oh, real numbers, what I call bold truth, you call it real talk, right? Like the bold truth is when you know these numbers, that's when you're free. That's when you can truly, for the most part, have some predictability for your revenue. And when you get to that point, or, whatever the conversions are, that's what I believe is the freedom, because I'm all about helping people really learn to open their mouth and make money. Right? Open their mouth and be able to. And once you start learning that, but yeah, I know that I hear that so often where people are like, oh my God, such and such, when I spent this X number of money at this particular platform or this particular ad, whatever, I didn't get anything. But it's back to the mad scientist. You have to be back to the mad scientist. And you have to recognize that sometimes you may have to invest money on the front end too, right? Map it out, activate it, adjust it, and then do it again. But that's part of it, because let me tell you, when you get to that point where you're like converging, like you get $5 out of every buck or whatever the numbers are, or like you said, the first year, you might invest a year of what a client would spend with you or invest with you, but they stay with you 2 years. Who's not going to dump all kinds of money into that? Then you have some true ability to leverage marketing or advertisement in a way that is effective. Love all of that. Okay. One of the things that I say frequently is you have zero competition when you own who you are. And I know that's a philosophy that you share as far as really owning. What do you think you really own about yourself?
Yeah. I will say that going onto this entrepreneurship journey, I have become more myself than I ever have. And things that I often hear from people, but I'm now getting it, but people often say like, oh, I love your energy. And, oh, you've made this so uncomplicated. But I think at the end of the day, I've just like, what I own is being what is the word that I'm looking for when you expect nothing in return? Unconditionally.
Yeah, that's good.
Like unconditionally helpful and full of real talk. Like I'm not going to lie to you if you come to me, because I believe that when I show up as, my real talking, high energy, unconditionally helpful self, it will come back to me in more ways than I can ever imagine. And so I really believe in just, being who I am all day, every day, and not shying away from the fact that I love writing and I love math. And, statistically, because I'm a Black woman, you know what I mean? Like I should not be seeing certain levels of success that I see. And I don't care, because I'm just going to manifest what it is that I desire, regardless of what anybody else will say to me or think is possible for me. And I think when you can do that for yourself, when you can show up and be like, this is who I am, this is what I believe in, and I'm going to create whatever it is that I want. I don't care who tells me it's a bad idea or it's not going to happen. Like then you're showing up as your, magical self everywhere. And it just comes back to you in more ways than you can ever imagine.
Well, I think that's a perfect way to end, because that is really the summation of you leading a life uncommon 100%. And I love that. I love that. We could talk all day because we love supporting people in having everything you talked about and having that ability to, market your genius, being your genius, own who you are. And I want people to be able to connect with you. Where are all the places besides Amazon? Go to Amazon right now. Go ahead.
Yeah. Market Your Genius is out in the world on Amazon and a whole bunch of bookstores and retailers. So you can head to marketyourgenius.co to learn more about the book and me. And I am really good at responding to DMs and messages on Instagram. Really a lot of platforms, but especially anywhere where I can voice memo you. But I'm funneling people to Instagram right now because that's where I've been getting a lot of messages. And so if you get the book and you want to tell me about it or you have a question, I respond because I don't care how big I get as a business. I believe in responding to people, me. And as I get bigger, it may be someone on my team. But if you DM me, I will respond. So that's where I'm going to send people.
I love that you say that because that is something, I really value about you is that personal touch and that you truly want that connection with people. And it's not just this churning out, like how much money can you crank out? Like the connection is so important to you. And that's so obvious in how you write and how you show up. So I really appreciate our time together today. Everybody go check out her book, grab it. It's literally like you can build your business, I promise you, if you get her book and follow her, the checklist. There, she has quizzes in there, assessments in there. It's everything that you're going to need. So I will talk to you later. Bye, everybody. Go be bold and lead a life uncommon. Yay. Hey, you've been listening to the Lead a Life Uncommon podcast. I'm here helping you create a life to allow you to do whatever the heck you want to do, whenever you want to do it. If you got some value out of this, I'm going to ask you, pop over and give a 5-star review. Subscribe and share this with a girlfriend you know is ready to lead a life uncommon herself. And I want to give you a couple things. Number one is pop over to marybicknell.com/podcast. I have something called the Guide to Your Hidden Thoughts Around Money and Success. You're going to uncover some good stuff there. It's a little workshop I'm giving to you. And another thing I want you to take advantage of is this exercise I did all around connecting with your evolved future self. You're going to love this exercise. It's going to be fantastic. In fact, when you're done, please go and tag me on Instagram or any of the socials and tell me what you thought. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say, and I'll chat with you soon. Bye now.